Welcome, listeners, to another episode of the Panel Palace Podcast, the comic book podcast for thinkers. We're your hosts, Jack Stubertson.
And Diane Hitchings.
Diane, what's new in the world?
With me? Well, I finally got back after almost a month of being about and doing things and being way busier in life than I like being, but I am back home now, finally. Had a great time. I went camping with friends and family. I had a great convention in Edmonton, my yearly appearance at the Edmonton Animathon, which is honestly one of my favorite conventions ever to go to. So, yeah, I had a great time. And now I'm just back.
Touch some grass.
Yeah.
Went to Animathon.
Yes.
All good things.
Literally touched grass by being backcountry camping for 2 weeks in a row. No cell service, and also no drawing. Oh no. Anyways, I'm back and I'm drawing a lot, so, nothing has changed.
I watched a video recently, which is ironic because it's antithetical to touching grass, but basically the end conclusion of it, which may actually play into maybe some of our discussion today. Anyway, the end conclusion was you got to go out and touch some grass. So I'm gonna try and maybe touch some grass in the coming weeks.
Yeah, great
idea.
To do that. Yeah, especially when the weather is still nice, while there's still grass for you there, because in literally 2 months for you, it will be all snow.
That's right. Then I will have no chance.
Yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of our discussion, are you ready to talk about Blacksad?
You bet.
Do you know anything about this comic when I brought this forward? Had you read or touched or seen Blacksad before?
Never heard of it. Never seen it.
Interesting. Okay. That's a good thing to know. In Greek tragedy, they fall from great heights. In noir, they fall from the curb. Dennis Lehane. In 1946, French movie theaters began showing American films for the first time since the beginning of Nazi occupation. The importing of Hollywood films led to a reinvigoration of both domestic French cinema as well as film criticism. Journals like the Cahiers du Cinéma and L'Écran Français published in-depth social analysis of what were then modern movies, recognizing and studying trends which could be used to help define the shape of current events and pop culture. One such critic, Italian socialist Nino Frank, noticed a stylistic through line in a handful of 1944 crime thrillers. Frank offhandedly dubbed these pictures noir films, literally black films, due to their relation to French book publisher Guillemot's imprint of translated American hardboiled detective and mystery novels, Les Séries Noires. Frank noted a pattern of subversive violence within surreal crime melodramas like Murder, My Sweet, Double Indemnity, and Woman in the Window, despite all of the above being made independent of each other by separate filmmakers and separate film studios. The usage of the term film noir wouldn't become popular until the mid-70s, and it's often misused to describe any morally compromised crime film. What makes a noir truly noir is hotly debated, but it's understood by most cineasts that noir usually falls under the following definition. For one thing, noir fiction is not a genre, it's a mood or a style. A work of fiction can only be determined as being noir based on how noir they feel, rather than any concrete plot elements or tropes. Noir operates in many modes, both public and domestic, addressing all points on the socio-economic spectrum. The power, consequences, and beauty of violence, and a cynical American post-war masculine anxiety, blanketed under cover of chiaroscuro lighting, make up the emotional motifs of noir. While rural-based noir stories exist, see Ace in the Hole or Night of the Hunter, they usually are set in the haunting hellscapes of the urban jungle. Its plots, like its morality and visual palette, are shades of gray. Mysteries wind and weave in ambiguity, often without a satisfying answer. If anyone tells you they understood the plot of The Big Sleep, they're lying to you. There is no color in noir. This may be a case of form following function, however, as proper noir films were only ever made between 1944 and 1955. You could push it between 1941 and 1958, but those are some rare exceptions. It's an example of transient art, which depicts the anxieties of the then contemporary man caught between the modern and the postmodern age. The world of noir is inhabited by a diverse cast of ethically complex characters. Its protagonists are always under some kind of strife, both psychological and physical, and undergoing escalating punishment for the crime of existence. Crime lords, bums, petty thieves, serial killers, con artists, fixers, pugilists, and victims, always victims, make up the cast of noir, all of which are depicted with varying degrees of audience sympathy. But above all are the two most consistent archetypes, the private detective and the femme fatale. In their essay Towards a Definition of Film Noir, Raymond Board and Etienne Chaumonton succinctly describe the role of the private detective archetype. The private detective is midway between lawful society and the underworld, walking on the brink, sometimes unscrupulous, but putting only himself at risk, fulfilling the requirements of his own code, or the code of the narrative. He is able to dispense justice and fight corruption, yet only does so as a mercenary. In his assessment of all-timer Mickey Spillane adaptation Kiss Me Deadly, R. Barton Palmer makes the comparison between the noir private eye and the knights of old. Clad in their armor of black borsalino and double-breasted suits, they hide a white silken core in order to dispense justice on their terms. The noir hero is one of contradictions, hardened and mature, yet also lonely, sensitive, and anxious. The stark white yin to the private eye's yang is, of course, the femme fatale. An outer beauty who masks their deadliness, the femme fatale is a manifestation of masculine psychosexual paranoia. In his essay describing the existential motifs of noir films, Robert G. Porfirio defines them as a host of domineering women, castrating bitches, unfaithful wives, and black widows who seem to personify the worst of male sexual fantasies. Board and Chaumonton describe them more succinctly as violence eroticized. If toxic femininity exists, the femme fatale is toxic femininity made manifest, as dynamic and self-determined as their male counterpart, yet even more deadly. They equally represent a boiling over of sexual repression, as well as the oncoming threat feminism posed to the white male status quo in a post-war Western world. While all these elements are recognizably noir, I must again emphasize, classic noir fiction only exists within a very specific framework. If we are to analyze something which takes influence from the tropes and elements previously established, especially in film, it must be done so under the guise of neo-noir. Which brings us to today's subject. Blacksad is a period crime drama created by the Spanish cartoonist duo of writer Juan Diaz-Canales and artist Eugenio Guarnido. The pair met while contributing covers, inserts, and pinups for imported Marvel Comics at European packager Planeta di Agostini. Guarnido would pursue a career in animation, moving to Paris to work at the Montreuil-sur-Bois arm of Walt Disney Studios, storyboarding and providing character direction for films like A Goofy Movie, The Hunchback of Notre Dame, Hercules, and Tarzan. Canales, no slouch himself, developed his own independent animation studio in Madrid. It was during their period apart that Canales began to develop a pitch for a bande dessinée album. Inspired by European fables, Rudyard Kipling's Jungle Book, and the British comic series Rupert, Canales approached Guarnido to collaborate. Guarnido, with his Disney background, as well as his interest in American noir cinema and his love of New York City, blended his and Canales' influences to create Blacksad. Blacksad is the titular PI panther who navigates the seedy underbelly of a 1950s America inhabited by anthropomorphic people, the urban jungle made literal. His cases often involve corruption in the corridors of power, misogynistic violence, and issues of class or race. First debuting in the volume Somewhere in the Shadows, Blacksad is called in by his friend and canine police commissioner Smirnov to investigate the murder of an old flame. Subsequent volumes, Arctic Nation and Red Soul, see Blacksad embroiled in white supremacist and McCarthyist plots, respectively. Initially published as French albums by Dargaud, Blacksad has been translated into over 25 languages, over 7 volumes. The English translated versions were acquired by Dark Horse in 2010, where the first 3 volumes were compiled and released in one 184-page volume. Blacksad has garnered universal critical acclaim in its 25 years of publication. Both Canales and Guarnido have won numerous awards for their contributions to the series, with Arctic Nation in particular winning the Audience Award and Best Artwork Awards at Angoulême in 2004 and Best Series at Angoulême in 2006. This is the comics equivalent to winning the Palme d'Or. A Hollywood film adaptation of Blacksad was optioned in 2006, but has been in development hell since it was reported. However, a point-and-click video game set in the world and starring Blacksad, titled Blacksad Under the Skin, was released across multiple platforms in November of 2019. To what degree can we consider Blacksad as authentically noir? Does authenticity matter for noir to be noir? And Diane, what did you think of Blacksad?
I loved it. It was awesome. It was great.
Isn't it really good?
I read like, so we read the first three, well, I read the first three volumes for this discussion, and I read the entire thing in one sitting. I was like, wow. It's great. I mean, I'm a fast reader, but still, I'm like, no, it is great. It is so aesthetically pleasing. If a comic is going to be colored, it should be done like this.
Yeah, Gornito is like, just doing the research, I got to see sort of his evolution from his, like, it's basically Marvel fan art all the way to his Blacksad stuff. And it's like, this guy is one of the greatest illustrators working today, I have to say.
It's just, yeah, so aesthetically pleasing. Like, the colors are beautiful. I mean, like, I'm a sucker for watercolor, so I'm gonna love it. And I'm like, this is the way watercolor is supposed to look. No whatever bullshit I'm doing with my watercolor. This is how it's supposed to be. It's awesome.
Your watercolors are good. Come on now.
Yeah, I mean, like, I've also they don't teach watercolor in art school. They're like, oh no, you get oil paint, because oil paint costs like $7,000 to get everything, and we want to make money. So, and the watercolor, you can buy like a palette for like $20, and then you're set for like 4 years. Anyways, I digress. Watercolor is beautiful. This comic is beautiful to look at.
That discussion on watercolor being cheap material maybe brings me to my first point. If we're gonna call Blacksad noir or not, it kind of brings me to my first point about Blacksad is it is grimy and kind of schlocky, which in my opinion puts it in favor of being in the noir camp. The use of watercolor, while some people would say that it's like it's classy because it's painted, you know, anybody can just buy a watercolor set at you know, Michael's for $12. You know what I'm saying? And again, same goes with noir cinema. A lot of that stuff, they were B pictures. They were like disposable. It's only the French that really recognized their artistic importance at the time that they were coming out, and then later academics would take a look at them, you know, in the 70s, 80s, 90s, and today.
What was your question? I'm just staring at pretty watercolor right now. What was your question? Does it count as noir even though it's colored?
Does it count as noir even though everybody likes it? If a thing is classy, does that negate it from being noir? Is kind of what I'm trying to say.
So, I mean, like, I didn't go to school to learn about cinema, which someone did a lot more learning about cinema than I did. So, your definition of noir in the intro, you said it was more of like a mood and a style, not like concrete specific plot elements or themes or motifs. And none of that definition said anything on whether people like it or not.
That's true.
I don't think it's something like I was going to compare it to like something under like the definition of like an indie comic or indie music, which I was like, well, doesn't that like, okay, so never mind. What I meant, a better word is like alternative. Like, for example, like alternative music as opposed to like pop music, which literally is popular music. So it's like, by definition, alternative music is something that is not loved by the masses. That's popular music. Yes, there are trends in like popular music and alternative music which changed over time, like directly reflecting like the current zeitgeist. But those are like defining words that in their definition is like, all the people like it, or is it like a niche amount of people? And your definition of noir didn't say anything about whether it's well loved or not. It's just a vibe. So like, I don't know. I ain't no film critic. I don't know the real definitions of noir and like everything behind that. But based on what I do, no, I don't think it matters if people like it or not.
That is interesting that you bring up the idea of alternative. I guess what I'm trying to say is, what does authenticity mean? And does noir need to be authentic in of itself in order to be noir? Again, going back to your definition of like what's alternative and stuff, just thinking from a Western perspective about like what is an alternative comic, it meant something different, you know, in the 60s and 70s than what it does today. Today, alternative comics are prestigious comics. They're printed on really nice paper. The creators are considered auteurs or master classes in their field. You know, they're collectors items, but they're also meant to be, you know, they are collectors items. They're meant to be like stored and sealed and like taken care of when you buy these $60 freaking Fantagraphics or drawn in quarterly books. And while technically Blacksad would be maybe considered that because it would be published in an album format, you know, its publisher, and along with most European publishers, that's just the norm there. It's not alternative from a Marvel or DC, or the only other, I guess, thing to compare to would be like compilations of like Disney comics and like magazines or whatever over there, right? Like it's not like over here where you have the cheap floppy, the cheap, I put in air quotes as they cost like $10 now, versus your $70 graphic album from, I don't know, Fantagraphics or Titan Publishing or whatever. And same goes with noir cinema, where back in the day you'd pay 12 cents to go to the movie and you get a newsreel and cartoon. You get a B picture, which is like, you know, cheaply made, schlocky, usually either a crime or something kind of exploitative, I guess you could say. And then your A picture. And sometimes noirs were A pictures, but most of them were B pictures. So yeah, I don't know. I just think it's interesting that you yourself come to that conclusion without me explaining it.
My question is, okay, so why were the noir movies B pictures? Is it because it's like they appealed less to the masses and they were for a more niche audience?
No.
Okay.
I think it's because they were there is like a level of salaciousness to them. You know, it is sex and violence. Maybe not as obvious as you could do today. You know, they had censorship back then, specifically during the noir period. They had, it was during what would be called the code period of film, where there was only so much you could show on screen. But at the same time, no one else was doing it. If you went to what they would call a women's picture back in those days, they're sexless. They're completely sexless movies. And same goes for a lot of the other genre, a horror movie, for instance, back then. It's not like today where in a slasher film, you're expected to see nude teenagers get killed. You know, that was not the norm. So yeah, noir kind of stands out in this. I guess I should ask you more broadly, Diane, what's your experience with noir? Do you care about noir?
Okay, maybe this is a stupid question. Does Watchmen count as noir?
Watchmen is neo-noir. Okay. For sure.
Anyways, I don't think I have a lot of experience with noir. Like, most of what I've encountered with, I guess, is like, I don't know the difference between neo-noir and noir. Is it a time period? Is it the fact that one of them kind of has color?
Yes.
Okay. That's the difference. Okay, so my interaction with noir, very little. So I'll be transparent and say that, so like, noir usually, would you say it usually involves like the kind of like private investigator thing? Is that like a big old staple of the genre?
It is a staple of the genre, but not for something to be noir. It doesn't need a private detective, but having a private detective in your narrative makes a strong case for your narrative becoming noir.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's like how all rocks are made of minerals, but not all minerals are rocks.
So not all noirs are like mystery.
No, certainly not.
Okay. Well, okay, maybe I'm more interested in noirs than I thought I would be, because like, I always got the impression that it was like straight up the detective stuff, and I'm like, I'll be honest, I don't really care about mystery stories. It's because it's always, there's a mystery, and it's either like you might be able to get it if it's, or you might not be able to get it, who's the crime guy at the end. Sometimes you get enough information, sometimes you don't. Also, I care way more about characters than I do about storylines, so like, please just develop the characters more than you develop the story. I do not care what the mystery is if the characters are bare bones. So that was like kind of one of the reasons I was always like never like, I don't really seem to care about noir. They always seem to be about detective-y guys. But if they're not, well, how exciting. Maybe I will go delve more into noir stuff. Because I love the aesthetic. I, obviously, as you know, I love black and white. I love black and white photography. I love black and white movies. I love black and white comics. I think they are more, in general, aesthetically pleasing than colored stuff. But yeah, don't have a very extensive history with the genre of noir.
Yeah, speaking on that mystery point, you will enjoy noir more if you abandon the like Agatha Christie Sherlock Holmes thing of like, ooh, maybe I can figure this out. You're not supposed to figure it out.
Yeah, and I don't care to figure it out.
Yeah, and you shouldn't. That's the other thing. It's like oftentimes either it will tell you off the get-go, kind of like Columbo, where it's like you see the crime perpetrated right off the bat, or the series of events that are described to you really either don't make sense or not really that interesting, right? Like what motivates people to do bad things is way more interesting than, well, I hid the diamond in this thing and you didn't see it because of this reason. And you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
Noir is character driven. It is not plot driven.
Excellent. My favorite.
It's also theme driven, which can sometimes be a problem, but it also makes it, you know, this is why the French loved it so much.
Okay, well, hopefully you bring some more. Well, I guess maybe this is technically Blacksad is technically neo-noir because it's color. You should bring some noir comics to the podcast sometime. I would enjoy that.
I've been thinking about that.
Yay!
Yeah, I've been thinking about that.
Well, I don't know if it'll fit with your season-wide theme of this season that I still don't know about, but
Maybe
you can
not
squeeze
this
it in.
season.
Okay, we'll squeeze it in next time or something.
What do you think about Blacksad as a character?
Is he like one of the least interesting characters in the story? Yeah, but that's like the territory of main characters.
He is kind of rock simple.
Yeah, and I mean, like, I guess maybe that's the staple of the genre. He's like the cool, stoic, strong. He sleeps with the hot ladies. People think he's hot. He's like smart. He's got all these connections. Oh my God, he has so many connections. How does he know all these people? But yeah, I mean, design's cool. I love trench coats, love double-breasted suits, love the aesthetics of that. One thing I will say that I think is very funny of this comic is the difference in the degree of anthropomorphization, or however you pronounce that word, between the male and female characters.
Yes, that has been noted before.
I'm reading it and I'm like, because like, is it in the first volume? Like, the lady in the first volume, is she also a cat? I think so.
I think she's supposed to be a house cat of some kind.
Yeah,
yes.
But if you look at her face compared to Blacksad, who is also a cat, it's like, well, one of these is a cat standing on two legs, and the other one is a lady cartoon character with cat features.
Yeah, they don't have the women don't have muzzles really in the world of Blacksad,
and it kind of takes you out of it.
Yeah.
Like in the second story, the one about the white supremacists, there's the polar bear character, and then his wife/daughter. I didn't know she was a bear. I thought she was a mouse.
I thought she was some kind of snow leopard or something. Probably because she's drawn exactly the same way as Blacksad's murdered
except she got
right?
round ears instead of pointy ears, so she's probably not a cat.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
I'm like that. She's just like a mouse, because like they wouldn't give the girl mouse characters whiskers. No. That's too animal.
No.
So like it was a plot twist to me when it's actually the polar bear's daughter, because I guess she's a bear. And I'm like, what? Okay, sure. Thought she was just a mouse. But so anyways, I thought that was really funny about the character design. It's also because I'm like, most of the guy characters, I'm like, so if we are like using these characters as kind of like representations of humans, whatever, does that mean like all the dudes are really just bald? Because like most of them have no hair.
Right? I'm not quite sure. For one thing, part of the noir aesthetic is, you know, the fashion of the time of that 40s to 50s period. Or if you're reading like a book, like broadly 1929 to about 1960 is kind of the classic noir literature, like prose period. Anyway, nobody's wearing a hat in these stories, which is like I get why, because you want to show animal ears or
Yeah.
antlers, or it might not even fit their head in the case of that walrus in the first volume.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, like there's a point against authentic noir. Is like, what's the deal with the furries?
I was wondering, I'm like, how much of the discussion is just going to be about furries today?
I was curious. What are your thoughts on furry fiction? I don't know. I don't know if this is maybe the appropriate episode to do a furry deep dive, but let's start there. How do you feel about all these being animals? What do you think the importance of them being animals is?
I mean, when you abstract anything, it allows for more of like artistic like interpretation. This is kind of like how I think that not drawing realistically in comics is good, because then you are able to abstract expressions and figures so that it leads to a higher emotional response and you're not stuck within the realms of reality. I think that's one of the useful things about animal characters. I mean, there's the whole basic, you can imply characteristics about a character without saying anything, which is fair about any character design. But you can infer a lot by what animal someone is picked to be. For example, there's the news reporter Weekly, I think his name is. He's like a weasel. Well, you get 50% of his character right there. Great.
Yes, true.
So that's pretty useful. I think like a lot of the police officers are like dogs.
They're dogs.
Yeah. And I mean, except for
that
one bear.
Police chief who's a polar bear.
Yeah. And like it is interesting because you're like, there's the one like the story about the Arctic nation where you can just have a bunch of different white animals, which I guess is like good for like visual, like there's more visual intrigue by having different types of animals, but they're all representing the same thing about being white. So I think that, using anthropomorphized characters is very useful in a comic medium. There's always like a difference to like how anthropomorphized they get. Is it just like a cat girl? Or is it like a full animal that can talk? So it's like the spectrum of like an anime girl wearing cat ears to, I guess, like, I don't know, the Lion King, where they're just animals that are talking. But I think Blacksad uses it okay. I don't think the story would be too different if they were humans. How would it change if they were humans? Well, the girls and
like,
the guys.
Occasionally there'll be a pun here or there, right?
Yeah.
Like Blacksad describes how he doesn't like mice every once in a while, or like he's good at hearing things or sniffing things out, right? Like there'll be occasional puns like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Blacksad's relation to like how animals and like race sort of commingle is fascinating if you try and map it out. It's not consistent, but it is interesting. I don't know. Do you have any thoughts on that
like,
broadly?
My thought is like, I like the second story the most of the three. I think it's got the most interesting characters, the most interesting plot. When I read the first story, I didn't think we were gonna get. I was like, oh, white supremacists. Oh my god, their logo almost looks like Nazis. And then we get the third story, and I'm like, oh, it's straight up Nazis. Okay. I didn't expect that, like the racism thing, because like the what's it called? The allegory wasn't really touched on at all in the first part. Just like some, like, you know, the animals like to stick together, I guess, with their own types. There was like, I think there was like the reptile bar, was that in the first story? Where they Yeah. And you're like, okay, yeah, you know, makes sense.
You also sort of
Animals.
get a broad feeling that, amphibians or reptiles hang out with each other, mammals hang out with each other, right?
Basic anthropomorphic stuff. That's just Zootopia.
Yeah.
But in the second one, all I could think was, okay, so there's white polar bear dad with a black mom, and they have two kids. White girl with a black birthmark and black girl with a white birthmark. So I was like, okay, is that how the colors like mixed genetically for the animals? And then I'm like, so is Blacksad, is he black? Is he mixed because he has white on his face? And he
I
does
think they imply, Blacksad is mixed, and that cow waitress or movie theater attendant who gets killed because she has a spot on her chest, so she's able to pass, right?
Yeah.
As one, even though she's actually mixed.
Yeah.
They sort of imply there's that scene in the convenience store where it's a group of militant black animal activists or whatever. They come and barge into the store because it's owned by a white animal to like say, hey, we're not involved in any crimes. If you suggest we are, we will start making trouble. And Blacksad intervenes to like stop any violence from happening. But they point out that, well, Blacksad, you don't belong in our world either. You've got a white muzzle, right? Like he's obviously too black to hang out with the white animals, the Arctic nation, but he also doesn't fit in the world of these black animals. So like that is kind of interesting. I think you can say a lot of things with that and emotions towards it, which is great. But I am curious, like I've only read these 3 volumes. I am curious how that goes forward with how Blacksad sort of weaves his way in the animal or hierarchy, the animal kingdom, I should say, maybe.
Yeah, because there's also the scene like before that one where he's in the diner and there's a bunch of the white Arctic nation people show up, and then Blacksad's like, hey, isn't this enough white, as he's like pointing at his face. So
right,
I'm
and
like,
he's already been served, right?
Yeah.
That's the other thing.
Yeah. So I think like that's a pretty good use of like the animal characteristics. Technically, you could do all of that with humans. It would just be more like explicitly said because they're humans. So there's no subterfuge at all. There's no allegory. It's just reality at that point. So I guess like I don't know, maybe comics do it so they can like, do it have the allegory or make commentary without like explicitly bringing the real world into it, which might like, I don't know, muddy the waters, but I don't know.
Yeah, and also freaky sex stuff, which Blacksad also has.
Yeah, minimally. There's like 2 scenes. Yeah. But at that point I was like, oh, okay, yeah, so this is a comic for adults. Fair enough. I guess there's a bunch of violence. There's a bunch of girlies in just their bras. What do you think about the use of anthropomorphic animals?
I think it is. For one thing, it speaks to Guardino's strengths as an illustrator, right? Working at Disney Studios, he got to animate walking, talking animals all the time, which he is clearly an expert at. So it is playing to his strengths. In my research, they keep making reference to Canal as being fascinated or being influenced by classic European fables, like the Blue Fairy book or Aesop's Fables, or what are those French brothers?
The Brothers Grimm? Those ones?
The Grimm. Yes,
Yeah.
Thank you. But like, all those stories to one degree or other, like, Red Riding Hood has the big bad wolf, or the fox and the sour grapes, or, all these fables star animals to tell a life lesson. They're parables. And in some twisted way, noir sort of is that, except for all noir teaches the same lesson, which is the world is chaos. You have to get used to it.
Oh yeah. I mean, yeah, it's like those would like the fairy tales would also like use, the more or less universal language of this animal stands for this kind of thing, which I think everybody learns about in some writing course. We did at some point in time. And I mean, like, the only thing I don't like about that is it's kind of reductive. Because, like, as soon as you have, like, for example, a fox character, well, then they're pigeonholed. So either, for the most part, people will just be like, oh, we'll make him duplicitous. Or we'll be super subversive and make him, like, a really great guy. And then at that point, it's like, okay, well, what's the point of using the trope? I think I'm just salty because my favorite animal is a snake, and snakes always get a bad rap in these things.
Like in Blacksad, where the snake is a hyper-efficient assassin.
Yeah, and also, like, snakes also don't get used very often because they don't have arms, so it's a little harder to anthropomorphize them.
True.
But, anyways, that's probably just a personal gripe with anthropomorphizing animals. But, like, it works. It does what it does. It's like so many things in a visual medium, it's a shorthand that helps get information across in an efficient manner, which is useful in comics, especially if you're doing comics detailed like this, where you don't have to want to spend a bunch of time introducing a character, because drawing a page takes a lot of effort and time. You just have a scaly dude being a bad guy, and you're like, yeah, we know. Yeah, easy enough.
We get it.
We get it, yeah.
Yeah, the weasel is weaselly, the rat is also conniving, etc., etc. Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Sometimes he does use the animals are used as overt references. I don't know if you caught it, but in the third volume, there's like a nod to Mouse, where Adolf Hitler is portrayed as a cat, just like in Mouse.
Yeah.
Other characters are depicted similarly. McCarthy, for example, the McCarthy analog in the third volume is a rooster. You know, roosters are annoying, loud animals who also call attention to things like the morning or danger or whatever. That's why you have them on a farm.
Yeah.
Same thing with McCarthy.
I was gonna ask, yeah, especially in the third volume, I felt like, are any of these characters like direct stand-ins for real historical figures? Because it kind of felt like that, but I was like, I don't know. I mean, obviously, they literally had Hitler, so that's not even very hard to say. You answered the question kind of with, like, the rooster being, like, a stand-in for McCarthy. Is there any other characters that are, like...
Yes.
Okay.
This is, granted, this is according to Wikipedia, but I noted these two. Sergei Litvak, the bear, the Russian bear, that's supposed to be Mark Rothko, who is a actual artist. He's an abstract painter. He did he did the black squares and stuff like that. Like, well, not the black square, but like
not the black square.
paintings of squares. Otto Lieber, the owl, the Nazi defector. Again, same thing. Greenberg is based on Allen Ginsberg, who was a beat poet. He's the bison character. So there are those. I'm sure there are other animal characters. Like, I want to say that maybe the polar bear character is a reference to Rupert, and like how the Rupert comics are like weirdly kind of pro-imperial Britain, sort of. I don't know if I'm willing to. I haven't read enough Rupert in my adult years to make that claim, but
yeah, I definitely felt that more in like the third volume than the other two. The other two, it's like, especially the second one, just felt like it was using animals for like the it was more for the visual stuff. And in the third one, I was like, I was like, you know what? I definitely don't know enough about history to know exactly who's getting referenced here.
Yeah. It is weird, right? Like, again, I would put this in points for noir, where it's a sort of a realistic narrative, but it is also sort of weird and ethereal, and like they live in New York, but it could be kind of any city, right? Like these animals sort of are like allegories for race, but they could just be not. Like, it is strange. It is kind of, talking about our old friend Albert Camus, it is absurd.
Yeah. And I do you think that the slight discrepancy in the use of like animal characters and locations, does it take away, in your opinion, from like either the quality or the storytelling of the comic?
I will say Blacksad wouldn't be Blacksad without it. You know what I mean? Like,
without
there are other noir comics,
yeah,
and if you put animals in them, they would probably feel weird, and Blacksad would feel weird if it wasn't an animal comic.
Yeah. No, I mean, like, because like there's like, slight discrepancies over like the story of like, oh, is the animal and their color a stand-in for race? Does the fact that it's not 100% internally consistent, do you think that detracts from the comic?
No, no, of course not. No.
Yeah, me neither. I don't care.
It's not distracting.
No, it's not distracting at
Yeah.
all. And it's like, well, like, yeah, humans are fallible. They're like, how are they going to really make a perfect piece of media that has no flaws at all? No, shut up. That's not what makes it good.
It also sort of speaks to the point that like racism is inherently absurd. Like racism doesn't actually make any sense from a logical standpoint.
Mm-hmm.
Like where we draw as humans, where we draw the line on what a race is like really dumb and stupid.
Yeah.
And not scientific, which say with Blacksad, it's white animals versus all other kinds of animals. There's like tons of animals that can't be white or can be white. Like, what's the difference between a white hen versus a black hen?
And in this world, would being albino automatically make you allowed into the white supremacist group?
Right. Or how does like ethnic religion get involved with these white supremacists? Like it is absurd, but so is racism in the real world.
Yeah. I mean, I'll say the only thing that kind of took me out of like the realism is the fact that the white supremacy group, literally cosplaying as the KKK, turned on their leader because he's a pedophile. Not realistic at all. Nope, I don't think they care.
Yeah. Yeah. It does look cool.
It does look cool, and I'm like, you know what? I can pretend that it was maybe just the Fox dude being like, I want to stage a coup, and like everybody else was kind of on board with the coup, so like their reasoning didn't have to be that strong. But I'm like, yeah, no way that these kind of people would legitimately care that their leader is like secretly a kid diddler. Like, no, they wouldn't care. Like, if we're having some amount of realism in this animal comic. But anyways, yeah, I thought that was kind of funny. I was like, no, you can't convince me that these people have a moral qualm about that. No.
I was gonna make parallels to how at the time that Blacksad was being developed, Spain held an election in 2000 where the People's Party won. Which is a center-right, quote-unquote center-right Christian Democratic Party, which gave birth to, of course, right-wing policies in Spain. But at the same time, that wasn't good enough. Like all right-wing groups, it wasn't good enough. And the España 2000 party was formed, which is a neo-Nazi party in Spain. And they continue to be on election ballots in Spain. They continue to have party status in Spain, despite very obviously being fascists. So I'm wondering if that was maybe going on in those guys' heads when they were developing Arctic Nation. It'd be hard not to. I mean, obviously, it's set in America. It has the KKK. It's got that history of American, white supremacy kind of baked in it. But if you look into Spain's history, Spain also has that. Like, so again, what does that mean? Does that make it authentically noir because it is sort of telling a parable about real world stories? Or is it more like a fable? Yeah, I don't know. I just thought that was interesting.
I mean, still working from your definition, I'm still getting that noir is just a vibe.
Noir is just a vibe. Sure.
Yeah, and I'm like, I don't even think, like, for what I know of it, I don't think I'd be one of those sticklers that say just because it has a bit of color, it's not noir. I mean, like, it's got the vibe. When I was reading it, I was thinking, I'm like, this is kind of like a noir detective thing, eh? And then I thought, does it count if there's color? I'll have to ask that question.
It is its number one detractor, is that it was made in the year 2000 with color.
Yeah, fair enough.
The other detractor is, are there any femme fatales in any of these volumes that we've read?
Yeah, because, like, okay, this is one of the things I want to talk about after your intro. When you were talking about the femme fatale, I was like, tell me your definition of a femme fatale again, and tell me how that relates to the characters here. And also,
it does not.
Yeah, because I was like, I mean, I'm sure, like, the colloquial usage of the term femme fatale has changed since it was first used, I guess, to describe characters in a noir. Like, so in the old-timey noir movies, tell me what the femme fatales were like.
A femme fatale is a beautiful, often mature woman who is positioned in the narrative, whose position in the narrative can change. She is a transient character just as noir is a transient genre.
Mm-hmm.
Her allegiances flip, her morality flip based on what will do her the most good in the narrative. But most often they use their sexuality as a weapon either to catch characters off guard to do things in their own favor or to do violence themselves. The best examples I can think of is this in this movie Detour, where this guy, he's driving down the road and he gets a little sleepy and he thinks he may have run over someone. And then he's trying to keep driving. He's out of state, so maybe he's safe and nobody saw, until he sees a hitchhiker. And it's a woman. And maybe the woman knows and maybe the woman doesn't, but she's playing it like she does, and she's going to use her sexuality to manipulate him to do crimes for her.
Mm-hmm.
Does that describe any of these characters in Blacksad? No.
None of the female characters, no. I mean, we could talk about femme fatale more generally, but like in this comic, I would say that the female characters are quite sympathetic. I think my favorite character in the whole thing that we've read so far is Jezebel, the wife/daughter of the polar bear dude.
Yes.
I think she's great. She's got agency. She's like literally she's the one that put the whole story in motion, which is great. You don't often get that from like female characters. There were times where some of the female characters in the story felt kind of like window dressing, like, you know, they're just like the pretty girl to be there because that's a staple of the genre, especially in the third story with the writer lady. What was her point? She didn't really have one. Literally, she's just there to like have a slight little romance with Blacksad and like, ooh, a little bit more sex scene. And then she just like sadly goes to Niagara Falls by herself. And I'm like, okay, boring.
The point of her character is to make Blacksad sad because he doesn't get the girl in the end. Yeah,
and it's like, cool. Like I care. Make me care about a man's feelings challenge level impossible. No, don't care. Like if you try to like make me care about someone's like feelings by just like having them not get the relationship, don't care. He should have tried harder. He could have found a better way to do it if he's really that sad about it. And if not, well, then obviously he didn't care enough. So, like, shut up. And I mean, the main female character in the first story, she's dead before the narrative even starts. So, like, yeah.
Yeah. If a criticism could be labeled towards the Blacksad series, it is that they are pretty misogynistic.
Yeah.
That being said, that points it in the camp of noir.
Of being a noir.
is about, It is about men. It is about the crisis of masculinity going on in men in the postmodern world.
Mm-hmm. And yes, the poor man, a victim of the woman's wiles. Oh, she's just so hot that he couldn't help himself. And she used her evil woman ways to seduce him. Okay. Okay, bro.
Don't you hate it when you hear... I'm a guy and I can't stand when I hear this, but when people are like, well, it's really hard for anyone to be a man today. And it's like, not really.
It's hard.
It's really hard to be a person today, maybe, but
no, I think what they mean is it's hard
has anything to do with it.
Yeah, what they mean is it's hard to be the shitty guy I want to be in the world right now. It's not it's not hard to be a normal human being. At least in regards of like boy wanting to talk to girl. Oh no, girl don't like me. Yeah, it's because you don't have a personality and you're a weirdo. Just like be normal. Good to know that's a theme that has existed since at least the noir times.
Yeah, it's not anything new, fellas.
Yeah. And like, yeah, your definition of the femme fatale in the intro, it caught me off guard because I'm like, wait, what? Is that how I'm supposed to interpret these female characters? Good to know that no.
Here's the thing.
Yeah.
The femme fatale is feminist. It's just that feminism is also seen as evil in these stories.
Yeah. You described it in the intro as toxic femininity, and that was interesting to me because I wrote while you were talking, quote unquote, toxic femininity. Said by who?
Yeah, what does that mean exactly?
Said by the
right?
boys? Because like,
Yes, yeah.
I mean, like, do you know generally like the definition of like toxic masculinity?
I mean, I can paint a picture of what I think
Yeah.
toxic masculinity looks like.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like kind of generally like the negative parts of like hegemonic masculinity, where like it's like a big like kind of the idea of like, oh, boys will be boys, they will be shitty and mean and suck at being good partners, and also be like weirdly homophobic and hate women, kind of that general vibe. And so, and you say toxic femininity, then I'm like, so explain. Explain what toxic femininity is.
I think what it means is it is when a woman takes advantage of her femininity in order to take advantage of men.
Mm-hmm.
Which, what does that mean? How does that look like in the real world? I don't really know.
Yeah. I mean, like, I have my own views as, like, being a woman. And usually what, like, I get the vibe when people use, like, terms like toxic femininity. Like, yes, of course, there are women out there who suck. And they do bad things, and they have bad views and all that. But in general, when I get the idea of people using the term toxic femininity, it gives the vibe of, like, a guy being like, these are the traits of a woman I don't like, and or the traits of a woman who would be mean to me.
Yeah, this woman stood up to me. What a bitch, right? Like
Yeah.
that is what a classic male might think as toxic femininity.
Mm-hmm. And like this is all like, not to get too much into like sex and gender studies, but like hegemonic masculinity is more or less like the prominent hegemony that works in society. It's very like male-centric, male-driven. A lot of media and advertising specifically, what I learned a lot about it from, is like created by men for the consumption of men, and women are often used as objects within that. This goes more like into like other parts of society as well, in like relationships and in jobs, blah blah blah. This is where I tell people to go read bell hooks. But anyways, it's so like the term toxic femininity, it's like, how does that work if we're comparing it to toxic masculinity? We don't really, at least in the Western world, have hegemonic femininity as the prominent culture. So often femininity is like not really as much like, ugh. I should have prepared this speech, but I had no idea we were going to talk about femme fatales. But anyways, like, how can they really have that type of power in a society that is centered directly on men? I think most of what, if a man was using the term toxic femininity, is a woman trying to use what she can in society to get what she can, or a woman like being a feminist and trying to reclaim either her femininity or her power. And obviously, men in power in the hegemonic masculinity society we live in are like, oh, I don't like that. No.
Right.
Women can't be strong, can't wear power suits and have equal wages. Yeah.
No, because somehow that would mean I would lose all my power as a man.
And it's like,
regardless of how true that is or not.
It's like literally not the point. The point is equality. But anyways, right. We won't get into a crazy discussion about feminism, even though I just went on a rant for the last couple of minutes. So like, I don't know. From what I have always heard the term femme fatale used in media is as a positive term for women. It's like a femme fatale is a strong female character who uses what she has to her advantage. She is strong. She is at least somewhat sexually liberated and confident in her sexuality and her body. So, like, I'm like, I guess in like true noirs, that's not the case.
No, I would argue the opposite. I think that is true of all femme fatales, is that they are sexually liberated and strong. Mm-hmm. It's just that is also a bad thing in noir fiction.
Yeah, it's framed as
that is seen as morally compromised, right? Whereas in other film or literature of the time, the woman's role is the domestic, right? you are a good girl up until a certain age, and then you get married, and then you are a good housewife, right? Or you languish in being a, biddy or whatever, right? Like, there's no this third option where you get to sleep around and you get what you want and men listen to you. That's dangerous, right? That's the territory of noir.
And I'm like, no.
Which is
that's the
obviously
best.
backwards.
Yeah.
Yeah. But also in noir, all men are corrupt and evil too, right? Like that's the other lesson, is that, again, going to Camus, the world is absurd. You have two options. You can do either a literal suicide or a metaphysical suicide, where you try and mask your reality and escape from it, or you die, or you can try and navigate and try and understand and try and figure out what's going on, like a private detective would.
Generally in noir, what is the intended outcome for the person consuming the media? I presume originally for the noirs, the target audience was man, obviously. What were they supposed to take away from the movie? Was it supposed to be like feel bad? Is it feel good? Is it just like a thinking thing? What do you say?
I don't know that you can say altogether what the point is or who the audience for noir is. There are women's noir. There are domestic women's noir out there. The name escapes me of the movie. Maybe I'll put this in the edit, but there's a movie where it's about it's a housewife whose husband goes off on a business trip and she's trying to take care of the kids, and she gets blackmailed, and she accidentally kills the blackmailer. And there's I think he's not a private detective. I can't remember what his role is, but anyway, there's this guy who knows what she's done, and he sort of almost plays the transient role where you think he's on her side, and then maybe he's out for himself, right? Like those exist. The Postman Always Rings Twice is another example where it's about a woman who is afraid of a prowler in her neighborhood, and she does the right thing. She calls the cops, except for it turns out the cop is the prowler. And then he starts, being really dominant in their relationship, and they get married and they go off to the countryside, and it becomes a horror show for her, right? But there is a masculine power fantasy element of hardboiled fiction and noir fiction as well, right? Every guy wants to be with Bogart. Bogart is the guy that you want to be and women want to be with. And part of that is just what a charming actor he is, but part of that is also the narrative of Sam Spade is really cool, right? Or Rick Blaine is cool. Philip Marlowe is cool, right? Mike Hammer, my favorite of the noir protagonists, is cool, except for they live in a dirty world and they do dirty things and they're morally compromised. So I don't know. I don't really have an answer for you one way or another of what are we supposed to get out of. It's not aspirational, except for when it is.
Because, I presume, while reading Blacksad, you'd be like, well, I kind of want to be like him. He's so cool.
Yeah, Blacksad's cool.
He fights.
He wears a cool coat.
He gets the girlies.
He's always got a quip. He's very sarcastic. He's great at fighting. But at the same time, he lives, in his own words, he lives a miserable life. Yeah.
I don't know. To me, that seems more I think that aspect, I don't know what the exact point of it is, but it definitely helps to make him more relatable. So, if someone is reading this and they're like, well, I'm miserable in my life, too, because of whatever current plight there is for men. Boo-hoo. And then they're like, oh, he's miserable, too. Oh, he's just like me. Oh, I can be cool and awesome, too. Cool. I'm just like Blacksad. So, that's usually how I read it, as it's it helps it's one of the aspects that helps the reader connect with the characters and kind of project themselves a little bit, why most main characters are very boring, so that the audience can attach to them and prescribe their own attributes onto the characters so they can have their little power and fantasy, blah, 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 blah. So, I guess, has it always been a staple of the genre of the main man being kind of miserable, even though he's hot and cool and can fight good and has a job, blah, blah, blah?
Yeah, that's consistent, I would say.
Yeah. Stop feeling sorry for yourself, my guy. Just fix yourself. I'm like, this kind of person doesn't have to like feel miserable. Go to therapy. Maybe find a job that puts you in less danger if that's your problem. If you don't have a problem with that, continue doing your job.
You can't go to therapy, Diane. That would be
so
A, that would not be manly, and B, they'll just hook you on drugs, and then you will be one of Camus' metaphysical suicides.
Yeah, blah blah blah, whatever. Unfortunately, to me, it feels a little bit of a self-pity party. Like, oh no, I am so hot and 100%. So strong, and I get these ladies, but I'm so miserable. What do I do?
100%.
I don't know. Get a few friends. Get some hobbies.
No, there are no friends. You get maybe one friend, maybe two in noir, just like Blacksad.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, yeah.
And usually one of them, in Mike Hammer's case, you sleep around with one of them.
Yeah, and I mean, like, it's those aspects that make the characters, to me, feel a little bit flat. That's why I like Jezebel as a character more, because she's, like, actively doing something to try to solve the problem, where, like, Blacksad's, like, kind of mopey about it. He's just kind of, like, going along with the mystery of the day, not really working to improve himself. I don't know if he has really any character growth.
That's the thing about noir that is also puzzling why people like it, right? In all writing classes, you're taught that your character needs agency and they need to be dynamic. Mm-hmm. In noir, characters do not have agency, and they are not, well, maybe they're dynamic in that they get sadder over time or they get beat up over time.
Yeah.
But they don't necessarily change their habits in any major way.
I think the main point of that is like it's a comfort. It's a comfort that there can be someone who is cooler than you, stronger than you, has a better job, sleeps with more women than you. But they don't
can take punishment more than you.
They don't change, but they're better than you, so you don't have to change. You can stay stagnant. It's fine. There is no reason to have growth.
There are certainly, I think there are certainly people who watch and read this stuff who think that they can put on a trench coat and that makes them like them.
Is that the same people who think that Rorschach is the good guy?
It's a Venn diagram.
It's a Venn diagram, which is just a circle.
It might be really close to a circle.
Yeah. And so, there's nothing wrong with that in fiction, I guess. If one of the defining features of noir is the vibe of how cool it is, there's nothing wrong with making something that just looks cool and has a great vibe, and you can enjoy looking at the pictures. I'll tell you, I had more joy looking at the pictures of this than I did really caring about the story. Because, it's colored so nicely, and there's, the scenes in the snow have a beautiful vibe to them, with, the pale yellows and the purplish, bluish grays. There's a scene in the second story at a tennis court, and just the colors are exquisite with the greens and the oranges. And Blacksad is wearing a dark green suit with an orange tie, and it all works so perfectly. Yeah, and it's that's cooler to me than looking at the story. I don't care about the story.
Yeah, I kind of thought you would.
Yeah. Thank you for picking something that I like.
It looks great.
Yeah, it does look great.
There's a reason. Yeah, there's a reason why these guys win awards.
Yeah.
I mean, just in that first volume, that panel where he's sticking his gun in that, what animal is that? Maybe it's a mouse? The florist. Anyway, he's sticking a gun in somebody's mouth, and it looks incredibly dynamic. It looks sick.
Yeah. Yeah, I know.
But there's a panel like that every page.
Mm-hmm. I know. I like how dynamic it is, even though it has a certain air of realism to it. It's not photorealism. It's just the folds are drawn realistically, and the bodies are, as much as they can be with their being animals, are realistic. But it doesn't stop the action from being dynamic enough that it's not super realistic. Obviously, most don't open like that. Blah blah blah. But it still works great. It's the perfect intersection between abstraction and realism.
Yeah, I agree. Everybody's got bounce.
Yeah.
even though everything feels concrete.
Mm-hmm.
These animals actually, they like, I mean, in furry comics, I think most furry artists are pretty good at drawing animals with like a wide range of expression.
Yeah, because all these people grew up really enjoying Disney cartoons and
Disney
classic
movies,
cartoons. Yeah. And you can see that in some of it. Like in the first story, Blacksad is talking to like a janitor mouse girl. And she looks very much like something from like, what is it, The Rescuers or something. Just like in her body
or Cinderella
type.
or something.
Yeah, it's very non-realistic compared to like she's standing beside Blacksad, who is literally just a full human with just a cat head. Like he's got just normal shoes and she's got little cartoon mouse feet. And has a completely different body structure with like the amount of heads tall she is. But like whatever, who cares? It's aesthetically pleasing. I'm not gonna nitpick something like that.
Or the gorilla boxer, Blacksad's gorilla boxer friend, who is just a gorilla.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He's not a gorilla man. He's just a gorilla.
Fully gorilla. Yep. I was like, oh, you can't really tell if he's got realistic feet because he's wearing shoes. In regards to aesthetics, what is your thought about not having like panel border lines or lines around the word balloons?
It's very European, which is not a compliment.
It's not a compliment? You don't like it?
No, I am a big fan of the panel border. I am a structuralist by tradition, I think, and I think that the panel border is important to the medium of comics. Now, that being said, there are still gutters in this book, so it's not like a huge distraction or anything. But
how much have you worked with like watercolor?
My next work is the first time I've used watercolor in a comic.
Wow, exciting!
I mean, no, I say that. Contras, I cheat a little bit. I have some digital watercolor in that, but this next thing coming out, it's real watercolors that have been scanned.
That's so exciting. So like one of the things that I always do with watercolor is I put tape around the borders of my picture, A, to hold it down, and B, to delineate the edges, because watercolor bleeds. It's not like marker where you can just draw up to a line. So what this reads to me very much is like, you can see it in some of the panels that they have kind of wiggly edges to them. And maybe it was he put tape or that like that stuff that you put down and then you can rub it off afterwards. I always forget what it is. It's like a liquid. It's like a rubber.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like I like that you can like kind of like feel the medium in that regard. Obviously, it's way easier to not have panel borders when you're working in something that's full color and all your there are some panels where it's just a white background with a character in it, which I mean I like doing that. All I could think when I was reading this is like, oh, there's no lines for the borders. It's very furry comic coded. But also a lot of
Really? You think that's like a furry thing?
That's a lot of furry comics are Western and a lot of them are full color. So it might just be because of the color. But I'd say yeah. That's what I thought about it. I'm not really a fan of the fact that there's no borders around the word balloons. Especially when the backgrounds are like light colored, it kind of like disappears.
See, that I don't mind.
Yeah, I'm like I'll just go on my high horse again about hand lettering stuff. Like it feels like there's a little bit of a disconnect between the art and the words. Obviously, the words were done after the fact.
Right, we're reading a translated version.
Yeah, I am going to. I don't know if it was. I presume the words were added digitally after the fact. If this was done in like the early 2000s, it's possible that it could have been like written out by hand. I'm not going to assume, but it feels like there is a layer of disconnect between the words and the art. I always like it when the words are rendered in the same kind of line and line weight as the art, but like that's just my personal preference. So I don't really like it that the words seem a little bit off. It's not as bad as like I'm sure I complain about this all the time.
Smurfs was really bad.
No, like those really like well-rendered watercolor like Superman, whatever that artist's name is. I always forget his name.
Oh, the Alex Ross stuff.
Yeah, and then it's just the goofy freaking superhero word balloon slapped on top of like a gorgeous watercolor image that should not be used in a comic. It is not dynamic enough, but whatever. I feel like I complain about that like every few weeks to just random people in my life.
One day, oh man, when we do Kingdom Come. Anyway.
I can't wait to complain. But anyways, yeah. I don't really have a problem too much with the fact there's no borders. I mean, I don't have a fact that this thing is full color because it looks nice. I'm totally fine when things are colored if it looks good. Most of the reason why I don't like color stuff is usually it looks bad. So I'm not going to complain about that. But like, I don't know. Yeah, that doesn't really bother me. I was just wondering what your opinion on it was as someone who usually does work in color.
Yeah, I think I'm the opposite of you. I miss the panel border. I don't mind so much the word balloons as long as the word balloons are consistent. And I didn't notice the lettering. I certainly didn't notice as much as Smurfs.
Yeah.
Which I think by and large is good enough.
Yeah, if it's the bar is on the floor with Smurfs, so as long as it's above that. I do think one of the limits of the medium, I guess, of it being like watercolor is I noticed that I'm flipping through it quickly to make sure I'm not like lying. But like the characters never or like nothing ever extends outside of the borders of the panels. You could say that technically the words do because if the word balloons connect to the outside of the panels, then their edges are limitless, whatever. But I think it's because it is watercolor, so you do kind of have to work within your little square when you like delineate it. But I always enjoy breaking panel borders, especially with action. But that might not work for something like Blacksad. I think it would have been kind of cool to see. I think it would have added an extra dimension, but like, I'm not going to be too nitpicky on the art.
Yeah, I wonder if they experiment more with that in I'd be curious to go to subsequent volumes of this.
Yeah, if you could find the other volumes.
What changes? Yeah.
Yeah, if you could find the other volumes, that would be great. I'd love to read them all. Because like I said, it is a gorgeous reading experience. And the fact that I don't really care for like generally mysteries and stuff doesn't really detract from my enjoyment, because for something like this, I'm more here for the aesthetics and the art of it rather than the storytelling.
Right. Which again points it towards noir.
Yeah. When you have a character that's kind of like bland, general private detective, it's like, are we here for the characters? I guess not really. Like, is there any aspect about Blacksad that is unique among the private detective, investigator, noir guys? Besides the fact he's a cat. Besides the fact he's a cat.
He doesn't wear a hat. His mixed race is probably the most thing that delineates him from all other noir.
Yeah.
It's fair. All white guys. I'm not even going to say that it's mostly white guys. It is all white protagonists.
Mm-hmm. But would that have happened in the noir genre in the 60s?
No.
Yeah.
Never.
So like the fact that
I'll put my foot down.
Yeah, the fact that it's made in the 2000s and it's color. Is that as you said, that's the biggest detractor is from it being authentically noir?
Those are the two. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I would say, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I just had a general, a small question about the interpretation of things that happen. Is it implied, so in the second story, there's the white tiger character who's got a disabled son. Is it implying that kid is super inbred and that's why he's like that?
Yeah.
Okay. That's what I assumed.
That's what they're saying. Yeah.
I assume. It seems like it would make sense.
Well, and Blacksad makes that point of like there's that thing of like sometimes mixing is good, and he puts some of the clay on his sweater. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah. All right. Good to know I interpreted that one correctly.
Which again is a very noir plot point. You ever watch the movie Chinatown?
No, I have not.
Okay. Neo noir, not true noir, but good movie.
Yeah. Ooh, other question about the second story. Did the polar bear guy know that was his daughter that he was technically married to?
Again, you should watch Chinatown. Not to give anything away.
But like in context of this story.
I think it's implied that
he does know? Okay, yeah. Because
I think that also feeds into the pedophilia angle of the character.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Very disquieting, but also, again, very noir.
Yeah.
In its fucked up sexual politics. What I was going to say is there's a video that came out a couple months ago on YouTube by this guy called Matt with 4 T's, titled "Why Marvel Rejected One of the Greatest Comic Artists of All Time," and it's about Blacksad. I employ people to watch it if they are interested in learning more about Blacksad. That being said, I did not watch that video.
Why?
And it did not inspire this episode because I am very stubborn and I know how to do my own research and I'm smarter than him and I know more about noir and comics than he does. But no shade, Matt. If you want to come on the show, go ahead. We'll talk about whatever you want.
You say that after having not seen the video. You don't know. He could have a PhD in film history.
I doubt it. But I'm told it's a very good video.
Mm-hmm.
People should watch it. I did not.
I
want that on the record.
You mean you don't watch YouTube videos to like get an idea of what other people think of a medium or a comic?
No, not for research purposes. No, I can come to those decisions on my own. I can read.
But how are you going to know if other people like Blacksad? Besides the fact
it's won awards.
That's
good enough.
Yeah.
That's good enough for me.
Fair.
I don't know. That's all I have to say.
That was the thing that was important to add at the end. That you didn't watch the video? You didn't watch the video?
Yeah, I don't want to be accused of plagiarism or bandwagoning or anything like that. I liked Blacksad first.
Yeah, you're like, I liked it before it was cool, even though it came out when I was like 7 years old.
And I know more about noir than he does. I've actually seen noir movies. I've read hardboiled detective books with words only, no pictures.
You know what the problem is? Every time you say a hard-boiled detective, or hard-boiled books, there's a manga called A Hard-Boiled Cop and Dolphin. And that's the only thing I can think about. And it's just a story about how there's a hard-boiled cop and his partner is a dolphin.
That sounds awesome.
It's good. It's by an artist that I really enjoy, who's written a story I really enjoy, and then it got canceled really quickly in Shonen Jump because that's what happens. And also, it was a fucking story about a dolphin detective. Anyways, so I can't take hard-boiled stuff seriously because all I think about is either a hard-boiled egg or a dolphin. So I can't take this concept seriously at all.
The metaphor, it's mute.
Yeah.
I mean, it is silly to describe someone who is like mature and hardened by the cruelties of the world as being like an egg. That is
sure,
kind of a silly metaphor.
Fair. Hard-boiled eggs are like, they don't break like normal eggs, but like they're also like bouncy. So like, I'm not going to take anyone seriously if they're hard-boiled. I'll be like, cool. Now it's just harder to get the shell off. What a metaphor for hard-boiled men.
Yeah.
We didn't really talk about. I talked about how I really like this comic. Obviously, you really like this comic. How did you come across Blacksad, and like when were you introduced to it?
I'm sure there was some sort of European sale on Comixology when Comixology was still a platform before it got eaten up by evil corporations. Mm-hmm. And I've always been interested in Franco-Belgian bande dessinée, but I've always been, it's from the outside. I'm a window shopper. I Other than Asterix and Obelix and Tintin, I haven't read enough of it. And Blacksad interested me because it had this reputation as being one of the great modern neo-noir works. Which again, I'm an ingester, I'm a devourer of this sort of stuff. And I was probably also confused by the furry angle. Like I didn't...
Confused, lol.
I don't usually read furry fiction. I have read furry fiction, but I don't usually... That's not my go-to. So I was like, what makes this so special?
How long ago did you say you read it for the first time?
A couple years, maybe 2-3 years.
Mm-hmm.
And initially, I think I only read the first volume and was satisfied and went on to other things.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't read these first two until like last year. So, yeah.
Yeah. And you obviously liked it enough or wanted to talk about it enough to bring it to the podcast.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean,
it's very important to my framework.
Yeah. Oh, I can't wait to know what that is. I was just wondering how you found it, because it was like, if it's highly acclaimed, I thought that maybe you would have found it through, like, I don't know, someone talking about it. I'm like, I don't remember if we talked about this in the comic history class.
I would have been the one to bring it up if we ever did.
Oh, so you would have read it before,
you know what?
that.
Yes. And you know what? This used to show up on lists. I'm gonna pull my own pants down here for a minute, but I used to frequent the 4chan comics and cartoons board, just to get, like, they used to do, they still do, they do story times where they would post scans in a board of comics, and you would read along with the forum as they did this. I don't advise people to go on that website for hopefully obvious reasons, but among the list of recommended readings, Blacksad was very consistent on those lists. So that probably also tipped me off to like, oh, it's on sale on Comixology. It's on all these 4chan recommended. I should maybe pick this up.
Yeah. I am currently flipping through my notebook from school. Because I have that on hand, I guess. And I'm trying to look at all my, the comic history classes to see if that was the one that we mentioned. No, there's independent comics. Ooh, that was definitely a class where I was falling asleep based on my writing quality. I know
I would guess that we talked about Fritz the Cat, and
we surely did a week about, like, Franco-Belgian comics, surely.
Yeah. What would we have talked about? Tintin, Asterix Obelisk. Did we talk about Lucky Luke?
Very, very briefly, and we talked about one other thing that I have on my list of things to read, and I always forget what it's called, but it, like, reminds me of Lupin the Third in the way it's drawn, which is really funny, but it's European, I know that.
What's it called? I know exactly. It's about a hotel lobby boy, right? Am I right about
no
that?
idea. Okay, I found the list of bande dessinées we talked about.
Oh, the Inkle is probably on there too.
Oh, Corto Maltese is the one I'm thinking of.
Oh, Corto Maltese. That's, oh man.
Have you read it?
Once they reprint those, I've read one volume of it. It's awesome.
Okay.
Once they reprint those in English, we should cover it.
Okay, good, because it's been on my list since we took this class, because I really like the art style of it. I just have it up on my phone on like a Google image search, and I've never gotten to.
Hugo Pratt's awesome.
Yeah, no, we did not. In our modern section, we talked about Persepolis and David B. Epileptic and a couple other random things that we did not talk about. Yeah, interesting that we didn't talk about
both of those are great. Like, those are best of all timers for sure.
Yeah. But no, we didn't talk about that. I mean, the artists and author aren't French, right?
No, they're Spanish.
Yeah, and I know at one point in time we did talk about some more Spanish artists, but I think that was in our the class where we did we talked about like backgrounds and stuff. What class was that called? World building? Yeah, we talked about that in a world building class, specifically when we talked about cars. So I don't think we would have touched on Blacksad and that. Oh, yeah. Why is it called Blacksad? Why is he named Blacksad? Is it because he's sad and he's a black cat?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, of course.
I'm like,
they're black stories.
yeah,
He is
yeah,
black
it's noir.
and sad.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. I was just wondering if there was anything more to it. Why did I think there would be a more in-depth reason for that?
No.
Okay, fair enough.
Just as language in noir, it is naturalistic. It is what it is.
Is this comic so well acclaimed because of the aesthetics or the story? Because I don't think the story is anything, like, exceptional. I presume it's predominantly about the aesthetic.
I think Arctic Nation probably is acclaimed for addressing something that was not being addressed in any mainstream comic of that kind of mid-2000s period.
Good point.
That is a weakness of the American comic industry, is that, post like 1990, we sort of fell into this neoliberalism idea of like, oh, racism is over, which is like laughable today.
Yeah, the fact that this story is just as prescient now, or even more prescient than it was when it was created. Yeah. Yeah. I don't think we've solved anything yet.
No. Yeah. So that's probably part of what has given Blacksad its following.
Mm-hmm. How much do you think of the following is the fact that is just furries liking the animal characters?
Oddly enough, I don't think a lot of it.
You think?
I don't know that furries dig Blacksad.
Okay, the unfortunate thing is now this is going to make me want to do research to figure that out.
Figure out which communities consider Blacksad high furry art versus which communities don't.
Well, because I'm like, the thing I compared Blacksad to most in my like reading escapades is like to the manga Beastars, which is like a story of characters or anthropomorphic animals. There is discussions about like race using animal allegories, though in this case it's about carnivores and herbivores, so like it's slightly different. It's not as specific to like actual real world things, besides the nod of people who are different seem to not like each other in society because society sucks. Anyways, furries do enjoy that. But I'm like, based on the art style, I think the answer is yes.
You think? I mean, I could see someone thinking Blacksad is hot. You know what I'm saying? Like, he is kind of a sexy character. Like, I get it.
I mean, he would be like you wouldn't make the main character of a noir not unattractive, would you?
No.
Yeah.
You could have characters in the plot say that they're unattractive, but that does not make it true.
Yeah. I'm just going to say that based on the art style, I think that, yes. And, yeah. I was just wondering if you had any idea, as you know more about Western comics than I do.
Oh, I don't. Yeah. What I know about the furry community is not enough to make that call.
Yeah, fair enough.
I don't think.
Yeah, I also wonder, like, in your research for these things, how much of it, like, is any of it on, like, what other people think about it, or, like, how much other people like it, or what types of people like it? Or is it more of, like an academics looking at it?
I do lean academic. That might be a weakness of my research for sure. But I don't know. I do try and get, like none of the books that I've covered thus far are cult or unpopular, right?
Fair, yeah.
There will come a day where that will happen, and that's gonna be a hell of a writing session for me. I don't know what I'll do, but
well, I'm excited for that. I would love to see some more obscure comics, because I promise you I will bring you random obscure manga that I don't think anyone else has thought about as much as I have.
Well, that's why I'm leaning on you for this
okay,
first.
Good.
Like, I've never read Baki. I know Baki, it's got a Netflix anime, so it's not obscure by any means.
It's way more popular now than it used to be, but like it's still quite niche if you compare it to like popular things like One Piece and Jujutsu Kaisen and stuff. Yeah.
Or Naruto. Yeah. Or Me and Roboco, which I had never.
Yeah, you've never heard of, but it is mainstream in Japan. But all right, Good stuff. I'll bring some more random stuff. Woo. anything else you want to say about Blacksad? Anything to wrap up your thesis?
To wrap up my thesis, Blacksad is not noir. But that doesn't mean that it's not great. It is still a great piece of comics fiction. It is still an artistic achievement in sequential art and character design, and even in narrative. I think Arctic Nation is a beautifully heartbreaking story about race in a way that lots of comics of its day were not addressing.
In like film critique and stuff, is there like a pretentious delineation between noir and neo-noir?
I don't know. People like neo. Like, one of my favorite movies is neo-noir. The Long Goodbye, which is based on a noir novel, is not noir, but it's one of my favorite movies. I don't know. Like, what do you mean? Chinatown is one of the greatest movies of all time, and it's neo-noir. It's not actually noir.
Yeah, you spent like a lot of this episode talking whether if this is noir or not. Is it neo-noir?
It is neo-noir. Yeah. 100%.
Is there anything wrong with that compared to it being noir? Do you think it was attempting to be noir and didn't? Or do you think it was attempting to be like neo-noir?
Well, all neo-noir is attempting to be neo-noir. Or is attempting to be noir.
So the neo-noir genre is just a failure to reach a height?
It is a failure. It is in a lot of ways nostalgic. It's trying to recapture something that can never be recaptured.
So then, yeah,
which is fine. You know, some neo-noir is about, some of neo-noir is literally about that, right? Like, in a lot of ways, Blacksad is about that. I don't know. A lot of this is in tribute to one of my favorite professors when I was in university. I took his noir class thinking, oh, I'll watch some gangster movies and I'll have a good old time. And, you know, it broadened a lot of my horizons. And, you know, to this day, whenever I'm at my parents' house, I'm flicking on TCM and I'm going to see if Noir Alley is on so I can watch some black and white movie where men kill each other and women are hot and also deadly.
Yeah. Good stuff. I learned a lot about noir today, which is cool because I did not take any film classes in university. And I think I might like noir things more, or at least at the very least neo-noir, more than I thought I would. So that's exciting.
I'll give you a list when we're done here about what you might want to see or not see.
And also bring a noir comic at some point in time, and then we can like discuss and like look at the differences between that and a neo-noir. I assume noir comics exist.
Noir comics do exist.
Excellent.
I've got one off the dome that I'm thinking about. I just need to figure out a way that we can both read it simultaneously.
Excellent. Cool. For the future. But yeah, anyways, woohoo! You found a comic that we both really enjoy and something that made me like color. Yay!
Thanks for listening. You can find me at Fountain Power Press on Bluesky and Pinksky.
And you can find me, Diane, on Instagram at @OneLittleGremlin. That's _little_gremlin.
If you'd like to follow the show, you can do so on Bluesky and Pinksky at panelpalspodcast.bsky.social. All of our links are in the show notes. If you like the show, please rate and review on your podcast provider of choice. Panel Pals is a Jack Stewardson, Diane Hitchings co-production with editing by Jack Stewardson. Our musical theme is Found by Stemchamp.